Hey there, Internet. Welcome to this week's Office Hours with Codilation. Apologize for coming to you a little bit late here today. We had some technical difficulties. Chrome decided to not allow my camera to share for Restream, which is our streaming software. So we had to fight through that a little bit. So here we are on this wonderful March 30th day. We in Fargo, North Dakota here got a couple inches of very heavy wet snow, so it's kind of gross out there, and hopefully we'll be starting April in a lot better shape. So if you're new to all of this is Office Hours with Codilation. We are here to answer your entrepreneurial and startup questions. So ask any question you have into the chat below, and we will be here to answer them. So we'll wait for a few minutes for some people to jump on and start asking some questions. We hold these office hours every other week at 4:30 to 5 o'clock Central Time. So if you know or are an entrepreneur, feel free to join anytime, no charge. We're here to just help answer the best questions we can for you. And one interesting thing that we've come across, this week is we've had some clients asking about software development and the concept of bugs. And something we had with some kind of, I won't call older clients, but more like legacy clients of ours that we've worked with over the course of years. And as we've evolved our agency, we've moved from, fixed bid, fixed scope into more of a time and materials organization. And one of the things that we get clients asking of, like, do I have to pay for bugs? And one thing that we wanted to chat about a little bit was just the concept of a bug. And a bug is when somebody says there's a bug, it's kind of a catch-all term, meaning there's something wrong that's happening. And a lot of times we'll need to look at it and say, is it something because of user error? Is it something because it was programmed wrong? Is it something that the software has changed or evolved and maybe wasn't caught? Is it a third-party implementation that they've changed how they're doing things? So a third party in this case might be something like, let's say we're integrating with a texting service so that we can send out two-factor authentication to make sure that, text to your phone, you enter in a code, that sort of a deal. And so, the concept of bugs is kind of a big catch-all term. And I think it's a good thing to be looking at from the standpoint of what's actually happening, and maybe not use the word bug, but there's an issue with the software, if you're working with your development company. And, how did that issue come to be? How did you find it? Because I think it's really easy to go in and say, there's something wrong with this. You guys didn't build the infallible system and it's broken and I need you to fix it. And I don't want to pay for it. I think that's a very normal place to get to if you haven't had the conversation with your software company before. The place I would recommend starting with that is to just reach out to your company and say, hey, here's the issue. Help me understand what's happening. Why did this happen? And I think you'll get a pretty good feel of, is the company shirking responsibility, passing that off to you of like, well, it's just something, you got to take care of, you got to figure it out, yada, yada. Like, are they passing the buck on it? Or is it something to where, it might be an issue with the software? So for us, like when we go through our acceptance testing, we have a UAT phase, a user acceptance testing. And at that point, it's gone through our entire process. So it's through the developer review, the quality assurance analyst. And so there's certainly times where stuff can sneak through that maybe we didn't catch. And then it goes on to the client to test as that next phase. And so, there's certainly times that the client has caught stuff that maybe is missed through us, or maybe we missed the context as to what needed to get done, or it's, a variation of the two. And so sometimes those get through and we didn't get tested from, the user or the owner didn't accept the testing as well as maybe could have been. And so when those things happen, it's how do you get together and how do you communicate? Because there's never going to be a system that's 100% perfect. And you want to look at it through the lens of this is custom built. This is not something that comes off an assembly line with a warranty. So just some things to think about when you're talking about bugs and warranties and things like that. Make sure that when you're going into a contract with a development firm, that you know where those boundaries are, and have those conversations early and often, so you don't get caught on the back end going like, oh shoot, now I've got to maintain something that I thought was going to be good and perfect. All right, we got a question that comes in from LinkedIn. What are some of your favorite places online to read about tech and startup news? There's a couple places I go to. So my LinkedIn feed, I follow a number of entrepreneurs, startups in LinkedIn. So that's always a good place to kind of get, straight from the horse's mouth, so to say. Indie Hackers is another great place for kind of the very early stage startups. There are a lot of companies that you probably never heard of. They're trying to figure out how to get their first, their first customers, their first $5,000 in monthly recurring revenue. Those are fun places to be and engage and understand. I know it's not for everybody. Some other places that are kind of neat to read about would be, I personally like Crunchbase. It started off as reporting who got funded and at what levels, but they've got some good news in there. Excuse me. Another good resource that I've enjoyed is a guy that started, Equisign. I can't remember the company name, but he sold it to Adobe for an enormous amount of money on an exit. And his name is Jason Lemkin. He's pretty active on Quora and some other places. I've really enjoyed following him. He's been a great resource to see somebody that's grown companies, scaled them, exited, and now he's investing in other businesses. So I would check out one of those resources. There's a ton of stuff out there. It's not 1996 anymore. There's a lot of stuff out on the internet to read about your favorite tech and startup news. So I definitely check out one of those. Quora has been kind of my guilty habit of, getting ready in the morning, just kind of scrolling through Quora of, what tech startup questions. It helps me kind of think about stuff in different ways as people are trying to address issues. So that's kind of where I gravitate towards. LinkedIn also asks, Eric on LinkedIn asks, what do you do to help yourself focus at the office or home office? That's definitely a tough thing. I find for myself that if I don't have a lot of stuff to do, like I don't have a lot of irons in the fire, it's easy for me to, go over here and start. If I'm working from home, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go, do the dishes, or I'm gonna do some busy work just to stay busy. So I need to make sure that in the morning I come in and I've got my note card that I go through and say, what are the objectives I need to complete today? The process I use is, what's one big task I need to accomplish, what's two medium tasks, and 3 or 4 small tasks. And so I use that as my kind of North Star. So if I start to get distracted on Slack or email or something, I can go back and say, all right, if I don't accomplish this big task, what's going to be the impact of that tomorrow, the following day? And it's definitely something to help keep me focused on that. So it doesn't allow, email's noisy, Slack's noisy, or if you use Teams or whatever it is, it's easy to get distracted by the noise and let other people take that attention from you. And I'm as guilty as anybody on that. Ask my team. I get distracted, but I think it's something that's important to keep that focus and maintain that that North Star for the day. Otherwise, it just kind of drifts through, and you leave the day going, okay, I did stuff, I'm wiped out, I don't know what it was, and did it really have an impact? Did it even matter if I showed up today? And I think that's the toughest thing to feel like you put a lot of energy into something, but there's not a return or result from it. Another question comes in from LinkedIn. What tools do you recommend for doing market research? Um, LinkedIn, Eric, you're speaking my language here of uh, validation and market research. I think every week that we've done these office hours, I have referred to this gem, Mr. Rob Fitzpatrick's book, The Mom Test. It's something that's really, really helpful when you're trying to figure out what it is you should be doing. And so, there's validation, which is this, and you asked about market research. So market research is really the understanding of what market am I going into, what problem am I going to solve? And I think that kind of comes before your validation phase. I shouldn't say kind of, it does come before your validation phase. And so your market research really is, let's say that you're developing a software product for agencies, consultancies like us. You would want to be reaching out to them and finding, what do you currently use? What pain points is that software solving? What else have you tried in the past? What's worked? What hasn't? And again, that goes back to this. Once you know the space that you're trying to be in, a lot of internet research, it's trying to figure out what key phrases do you need to Google to find that software. I would go through their sales sites. I would even go take demos with them and really see like what in the market you're trying to go into, what are they presenting? And that's I use that kind of with a little bit of caution around it of you don't want to go build a Me Too service. You don't want to build a Me Too thing. And when I say Me Too, it means like I'm going to just go copy the software. I'm going to go copy what they're doing. I'm going to go copy their messaging. I'm going to go copy their product. Because what's the point? They already have traction. They already have sales. So you need to have something that's unique and different. So I would start there and trying to figure out what's out there and how do you differentiate yourself. And then I would pivot myself into validation against the market. All right. So a couple questions come in around pricing. Are there any signs that would indicate I price my product too high or too low? Should I always price myself lower than the competition to try to beat them out? Sometimes when you're coming into the market, you don't know. You don't know where is too high and too low. I've got a couple of friends that started a very successful SaaS product in the marketing space. And what they did was they started off saying, we're going to put our service together direct to kind of the end user, solo users at $10 per month. They did that to go attract, I think it was 200 or 300 customers with the intention of they're going to go enterprise. Or at least upstream, I should say. And they're at the point now to where their entry level price point is $100 per month per user, and then it goes into multiple tiers to where I believe they have customers paying many thousands of dollars per month on an annual contract. And so they started off at the $10 per month so that they could prove that there's a need in the market. They wanted to raise some funds, and they felt like if they could show some traction to investors, knowing that they were going to change their business model, it would be successful. And they went and raised, I want to say $300,000 or $400,000 on their initial seed round, and I believe they raised a couple million since. So not a huge funded company, but they used that model to go raise money and be able to scale and grow. In terms of like us as a consultancy, if we're consistently getting yeses when we put together a proposal, I would take that as, I shouldn't say consistently, maybe it's, 80, 90% of the time we're getting yeses, and it's like people aren't balking at it. They're just saying, yep, let's go. I would look at that and say, like, are we priced too low? What is that threshold that you want to hit of sales pitches to closes? Because if 100% of the people, like let's say we're selling, a couple of weeks ago we talked about our discovery phase, and let's say that we went through and we're hitting 100% of our discovery phase pitches, and they're saying, yep, let's do it. Is that too high? Like, is that something that we're not charging enough to get the value out of it? Should we be weeding some of those people out? And ultimately that's your decision, up to you as to how do you want to position yourself. But if everyone's saying yes, I think you might be on the lower end. And if it's, on the, I don't really know how to quantify the higher end. I mean, if you're on the higher end, people aren't going to, they're not going to buy from you most likely. Probably some indicators would be they don't get the value that you're providing, or they might be asking questions of like, I don't get it. You're just like this company or this thing, but why is the price tag different? They'd be asking questions, kind of probing in like that. But that's more of an interaction piece. If you're a SaaS product and you're selling direct online, people aren't going to buy from you if you're just too high. But then again, there's a market for everything. I mean, there's companies that sell $100 million yachts. So I think anything out there is sellable. To find your market, find the people that are willing to pay for it, and run some pricing experiments on it. We have another question that came in asking, what are some of your favorite brands in terms of marketing strategies? Whose social media accounts or email campaigns do you enjoy seeing? I've enjoyed interacting with Austin. I'm going to butcher his last name here. Nestle. It's from 6 to 7 Figures. He's got a revamped version of his book coming out. Some updates, new cover art, all that sort of stuff. He's been really, really good to get into his email list. Another one was Pat Flynn. Amazing content, amazing funnel. So I put those two in kind of the startup marketer bucket. Somebody that I've gone through some courses and coaching through was a guy by the name of Garrett White. He does a lot of really good email sequence and email campaigns. I want to say that he's been trained, or his team has been trained through ClickFunnels. Oh God, I'm spacing on his name now. Russell Bronson from ClickFunnels. It feels very similar to that. I think they've done some coaching together. So those are the ones that I would definitely engage with. Plus, we also have some clients, and what they do is that every month, every week, they send out some sort of an update about what's happening in their company. And one of them is actually not even a client. We've never worked with them, but I just enjoy watching that growth happen. And I think that's a really unique or great tactic to deploy if you're a startup, is to go in and get your list together. Whenever you talk with somebody, see if you can add them to your list. And then once a month, send out like, here's the wins we've had in our company. Here's the struggles we've had. And just put together an email or a PDF or something and send that out to that list on a monthly basis. That's been really neat to watch, because we've seen people go from like concept all the way through to, growth and landing customers. And it really is, when you're in the entrepreneurial game, like you want to cheer for them. You want to, pat them on the back, because it's not easy to go get your first customers. It's not easy to go from an idea to a product. And I think anyone that's done that knows that feeling. So it's like, if we can, as a community of startups, really be there and champion and help them, say like, good job, way to go, does that help keep somebody from giving up along the way? Another question comes in asking, have you seen any pitches that have left a big impact on you? What did they do that stood out from the crowd? The pitch deck that we use personally is from Robert Kiyosaki. He was in marketing with Apple. He's done a number of other things, and he's got the 10-20-30 rule. So the goal for his pitch deck is there's 10 key slides that you need to have. You need to be able to deliver it in 20 minutes, and you should never have smaller than a 30-point font. I find a lot of entrepreneurs try to plaster up, a paragraph of text or too much information on that slide. And what happens is that when you're pitching to a investment group, you're pitching to, a partnership opportunity, if they're reading the slides, they're not listening to you. And so you need to be able to control that conversation, control the room. You want to be able to have big, impactful things on that slide. And I found like very simple animations of being able to just roll them in of like, you know, we have landed 375 customers, that slides in at a total, at an average spend of $7,300 per year, that slides in. And like, if you can just be able to hit them with the bullet points, they're going to want to ask questions later. And the little trick that I like to do is I hold some of those detailed slides. So if that's a burn down chart, meaning like if we get this money, this is how long it's going to last us, or this is our growth expectations, like some of those more detailed slides that are charts, graphs, tables, I hold them after the thank you slide. So we have them there. So when they say, Josh, what's your expectations for, Q1 of next year? I'll say, you know what? Glad you asked. Here's our projections, and you pull it up. So now you can have that conversation, but it's you need to hook them, you need to get them involved, and really excited about the pitch, because if you don't convince them that you as the entrepreneur are the right jockey, to ride the horse, your team isn't the right group to get it done. It really doesn't matter what the idea is. So you need to convince them that your team and you are the right ones to give the money to, because they want to believe in you and your crew more than anything. All right, got another question that came in. What are you currently reading or planning on reading? Any new recommendations? Question after my own heart. So my next book on the list is Mr. Grant Cardone's 10X Rule. Grant is big in the real estate investment space. I think he's got like $4 billion under management. And, the concept really is like when you do marketing and sales activities, or really anything in your business, think about what the impact is. And you want to be able to have a 10X impact. You want to have a big impact for what you're putting in, so you can really strengthen and grow the business versus, having just, base hits that are just kind of moving day to day. And that's definitely something that you need to have a business that's at the point that it can scale. You can't be trying to figure things out. You need to have, a proven process. You need to have those pieces in place so that the systems, processes, and people are able to sustain that, because it's really a growth lever that you're looking to pull. So I'm looking forward to getting to that book. I've been kind of slacking lately on my reading. I'm still getting through Little Bets. That's something we talked about a couple of weeks ago. So I get through that. I've got the 10X Rule. I've got a few other ones. I ordered Gary Vaynerchuk's 12 and a half, his new book. Andrew Chen's The Cold Start Problem is something that's on my desk here. And then I've got They Ask and You Answer, which is another marketing strategy book. So those are some that are at least near me. And again, I'll plug this. If you're an entrepreneur and you have not read this book, go get it. Ask me for a copy. Like, read this book. At some point, Rob's going to have to pay me royalties for this plugging to all 7 people that watch these videos. But it's an amazing book. It's really changed how I think about user validation and market research and all those things. So we're coming to the top of the hour here. So if there's any other questions, put them into the channel. Again, office hours here with Codalation. Wednesdays 4:30 to 5 o'clock, every other Wednesday. So we'll be holding this again here in 2 weeks. If you have any other questions, follow us on social media. We're on all the major social channels. We haven't gotten into some of the more cutting, newer stuff, the TikToks and things like that. But LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Check us out on our socials. Come check us out on our website. We're launching some new content here soon, kind of a refresh of our brand. So if you got any other questions, throw them in here. I was running a few minutes late. Apologies to all handful of you that are watching here today. But again, we're here at Codalation. We're here to help answer your startup questions, your entrepreneurial questions. we want to make sure that you have the information you need to succeed and win. So not seeing anything else coming in, so I'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you all for joining. We look forward to talking to you again in a couple weeks. If you have questions in the meantime, put them into the chat below or reach out to us on socials. Hope you all have a great start to April, and you're not like us here in Fargo with 2 inches of wet, sloppy snow. So enjoy it. We'll see you